Now get ready for what is becoming the single largest illegal BitTorrent downloading case in U.S. history. At least 23,000 file sharers are likely to be notified soon that they're being sued for downloading The Expendables. And no, not the incredibly popular animation film, I mean the B-list one with Sylvester Stallone. And if you thought that the major Hollywood and recording studios had abandoned that technique of going after individual downloaders, and that they had switched to focus to lobbying Washington, well then you'd be right. This is a whole new ballgame that we're talking about. The case is being led by the U.S. Copyright Group, a coalition of indie film producers who have pioneered a new strategy that most say is all about making money and not about combating piracy. Now, contacting the downloaders personally, offering a settlement of $2,000 or $3,000 so that it never goes to court, that's the strategy there. And most people end up saying yes. It sounds like a massive scam, but the problem is it's legal. And altogether, there are about 140,000 BitTorrent downloaders who are currently being targeted in lawsuits across the country. So here to tell us more about what's going on is Ava Galperin, international activist at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, if we could just start with the basics. Can you walk us through exactly how these operations, how these subpoenas work?
Well, sure. As you've mentioned, there is, in this particular case, the U.S. Copyright Group approaches an independent filmmaker and says, there have been people downloading your movies on BitTorrent. And we're going to go and get this information. We're going to go find the downloaders for you. Let's go get some settlement money out of them, and then we'll split it, and everybody's happy. So what they do is they gain the right to enforce the copyright on behalf of the independent filmmaker. Then they have software which they use to find the people who are allegedly downloading the films on BitTorrent, which gives them a list of IP addresses which they bring to court in their lawsuit, and they say, let us go to the ISP and find the subscriber information for the people who are using that IP address at that time.
And is that completely legal, what they do in terms of using that software to go and snoop and get people's IP addresses?
Well, certainly as far as we know, and they're not terribly open about the software that they use or what their methodology is, but we're certainly not alleging that any of that is illegal. We are mostly taking issue with the way that they have put together these lawsuits, which is very different from what the RIAA and the MPAA did in the past, where they would sue one person at a time. These lawsuits are being done against thousands and thousands of people all together in a single lawsuit.
So I'm just wondering, to you, is there any doubt in your mind, though, that this is not about piracy and this is solely about making money off of people? About, you know, I guess if it's the case of a porn movie that they downloaded, about shaming them into it, or just some random B-list movie, it's about telling them that this is the easier option than going to court, give me your $3,000.
Oh, absolutely. These attorneys are not interested in going to court. Going to court is expensive. Having to file a whole lot of paperwork is expensive. Filing briefs is expensive. Whereas shaking people down for settlement money is cheap. They send them to a website and have them fill out a form.
So now there's 140,000 people in about a dozen of these cases that are being targeted by similar groups like the U.S. Copyright Group. Is anybody investigating this? Is Congress investigating it, you know, into this practice that seems to be on the upswing?
Well, mostly this whole issue is being played out in the courts. And the Electronic Frontier Foundation is representing people who are being sued right now. We are representing a couple of people who are being sued by Right Haven, which is another group which does something similar with the newspaper articles. And we have filed several amicus briefs, both in the independent movie lawsuits and in the porn movie lawsuits, which again have the additional element of shame, which we're deeply concerned about.
And like I said, do you think that this is something that is the future of Hollywood, that you're going to see more of these independent studios, independent filmmakers trying to, you know, I guess, practice this form of lawsuit? Perhaps if their money or if their movies aren't big money makers because they're indie films, this is the way that they really get to cash in?
I think that this is something that lawyers are trying to talk independent filmmakers into. But honestly, not a lot of independent filmmakers have gone for it. A lot of independent filmmakers understand that this is actually a bad proposition, that you don't make money by suing your fans.
Now, I know that
not only do I think this is not the future, but I hope it's not the future of independent filmmaking.
Yeah, I would hope so too, right? I guess hurting your fans or suing your fans is never a good idea. I know that one thing that the EFF has been working on here too is trying to stop so they can't just group thousands of people together and that you have to sue them in certain locations. Do you think that that's a policy that's going to work?
Absolutely. It has worked in several cases already, and these extremely large lawsuits where the U.S. copyright group is suing thousands of people at once have in some cases been severed, and they've had to sue them all in the physical districts where the people that they're suing reside. And that's simply not financially feasible for them. Again, suing thousands of people in a single lawsuit is cheap, and suing people all over the country one by one is expensive. They're not going to make any money, and they're unlikely to do it.
All right, Ava, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I guess the message to everyone else out there is if you're going to be downloading porn or B-list movies, then watch out for some of these groups. You might be getting letters coming to your house. Thanks so much.
Thank you.